Back to the firestorm over NPR and firing Fox News contributor Juan Williams from that program. The comments made earlier in the week, Monday night, on the O'Reilly factor. Well, Juan Williams went back to talk with Bill O'Reilly last night. Here's part of that now.
And we're having an honest discussion. This is what America should be. People having a real debate and telling you, as you pointed out rightly in the talking points memo, this is what I felt. If I have
wasn't
a fear,
an opinion.
No, I don't fit in their box. I'm not predictable, black, liberal. And let me tell you something else. You were exactly right when you said, you know what this comes down to? They were looking for a reason to get rid of me because I appear on Fox News.
That's right.
They don't want me.
So much of this debate has excluded the opinion of the Muslim community. Now, for reaction on that, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser is president and founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy out of Phoenix, Arizona. Doctor, good morning and welcome back here. You followed it. You heard what Juan said the other night. Were you offended?
Absolutely not. I mean, I can't tell you how important this issue is. As a Muslim, we know that we want to take responsibility for fixing our problem, and I hope America understands that we can't begin to fix a problem that we can't even talk about our fears. I want to remind you of Nidal Hassan, a member of the Army that was a medical officer that went for years beginning to have radical ideas that his officers wouldn't talk about because of exactly what happened to Juan. And I can tell you, yesterday, when I heard Mr. Hooper from CARE berating and defending what he said that led to possibly his work leading to Juan being ousted, I think demonstrates their intimidation tactics. And I want to remind people that he does not speak for Muslims in America. He speaks for a fear, a victim-mongering mentality that doesn't want to deal with reform. And I want to tell you, there's other Muslims out there, and I think the majority of us that take responsibility for these issues want to engage. We know ourselves. I can tell you Muslims that have fears about certain things because we look at reports like the NYPD radicalization report that talks about theological fundamentalism being part of that radicalization process.
You mentioned
and we
understand
that.
Yeah, at that post in Texas. Your point there is that if you see something, say something, and don't be afraid to say something?
Exactly. I think there's a big difference, Bill, between prejudice and vigilance. And we want a community that's vigilant. We want the Congress, remember, protected the passengers in that ridiculous lawsuit from the imams because they wanted them to feel comfortable to report things. And if we can't even talk about the fears, and Juan went on to defend Muslims and talk about their rights, etc., when he was talking to O'Reilly, and yet the people that wanted to attack him and intimidate him into silence didn't want to acknowledge that. And Dr. Hassan,
I think and your point is fairly taken about listening to his entire comment in context. What is CARE all about then? Why would they amp up the pressure on NPR allegedly? Why would they want Juan Williams out? Why would they not accept his viewpoint?
They're all about political Islam, about a brotherhood type movement where they want to divert attention from the real problem within the faith of reform that we need to separate mosque and state and stop this transnational movement. They're about intimidation, blaming everybody else, and not dealing with diversity. They want to say they claim responsibility. I'll tell you, there's imams like Imam Abdul Rahman Muhammad, who just wrote a piece yesterday as an African-American Muslim saying how offended he was at what happened to Juan Williams. And there's other Muslims out there, but they want to monopolize the representation of Muslims and make America on the defense rather than on the offense of dealing with a true theopolitical threat.
You mentioned fear several times in this. You also believe there is a substantial difference between bigotry and fear. Explain that.
Well, I'll tell you, because I'm a physician. When you treat a disease, you don't only treat the symptoms, you treat the core issue. And when we see that there is a security threat that has a theology wrapped into it, we have to be careful because the solution to that problem will come from within the theology. I have family members that dress in that garb that Juan was talking about, but yet we also know that it is almost unheard of that the radicals not have that fundamentalist streak within them. So when we're trying to treat the theological problem or the theopolitical problem, we have to start to tease it and dissect it apart to understand it and then get to the solution, which is from within.
To continue, you're not going to get to that solution. Your point is well taken.
And you're going to have more. Exactly. You're going to have more Nidal Hassans. I mean, this isn't just about Juan. It's about a nation having a conversation about a theopolitical threat where there's so many Muslim groups that aren't in denial like CARE and MPAC and their fellow travelers, but Muslims that want to talk about our concerns about these radical groups.
Appreciate your viewpoint. Thank you, Doctor. Out of Phoenix.
Thank you.
Arthel.
All right, Bill, well, the foreclosure